Well, hello guys. Welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler and today we're reviewing the ZT0452 in carbon fiber. Aside from my intro, I'm going to skip that today and I'm going to kind of dedicate this. I saw something on Instagram. A buddy of ours lost his wife this day a couple years ago. I'm not going to use his name because I don't want, I didn't really ask for his permission to do this, but my wife lost her father 3 years ago today. So in kind of memory of that, I'm going to skip the intro and I'm going to tell a story from my father-in-law, kind of dedicated to both of these situations and to everybody who lost somebody that it's overwhelming, right? And it's part of life, but at the same time it's crazy. So I'm going to tell a story from my father-in-law that will always resonate with me. And yeah, it's real short. So my wife, she's got a little bit of a temper, you know. She was driving one day with her father in the car, and they come up to a four-way stop sign. There's a guy who blows through the stop sign, and he flicks off my wife. Right? We've all seen those guys. So my wife naturally kind of loses her stuff, right? That's not cool. And she reacts in kind. So my father-in-law stops her, and he says, "Hey, let him have that moment." And she's confused. She doesn't understand. She's, "What? That asshole just, And he goes, "No, let him have that moment because you have no idea what's going on in his life. You have no idea what that man's going through. Maybe he just lost somebody. Maybe he just lost his job. Maybe he just lost his house. Maybe there's just stuff that you can't comprehend going on with him." Let me straighten this out. Going on with him. And that moment was required on his end to kind of vent a little bit, right? So that doesn't make being an asshole okay. But what that says is it's kind of a bigger person comment, but at the same time, it's true. You don't know what people are going through. So I'm not going to preach or do anything more than that. I just want to leave you guys with that. I think he would appreciate me telling that story. But that's who he was. He was kind of a, if you got to hit me once or twice to feel better, go ahead. It's not that it makes him weak or anything like that. It actually makes him a stronger person. So take that. Like I said, today, just keep in mind that somebody may be going through something that you have no idea. So their reactions to what you do or reactions to what other people do are just, they may not make sense to you. All right, done with the heavy stuff, right? That was one hell of a gripping start. So let's get into this. This is the 0452 Sinkovich design by ZT. We got a titanium frame lock on this side with a stainless steel pocket clip, stainless steel hardware, stainless steel pivot. We have some nice milling going on right here, little milling lines in the cutout for the lock bar relief. This whole thing is very nicely stonewashed. I really like it. And then we have some chamfering going on down this side, and it's like a 3-tier chamfer. It's really nice looking. This knife is not my cup of tea. This knife is, I only have one knife in my collection similar to this, and I still prefer that knife over this, but there's a reason and I'll get to it, but that doesn't make this knife any less. So we do have some standoffs going on right here. We have a lanyard punch out that is just kind of whatever. And then this is the version with the carbon fiber where this is all one carbon fiber slab, and this carbon fiber looks really good. I think this is called a weave carbon fiber. You can kind of see how it goes up and some kind of go under like a weave. The pivot, we have a captive pivot, and there is KVT ball bearings in there. So this is on bearings. The frame has a stainless steel insert that acts as an over travel stop and also acts as a, basically, so there's not raw titanium on the lock face for the blade. The blade itself, we have this long drop point style design with a long swedge coming down here. We have some jimping right here that is pretty functional. This is where your thumb would land, so that's a good thing. A nice flat grind, and the satin finish, which I kind of want to show the satin finish off because this impressed me cleaning it off. The satin finish is so distinct, you can hear it when you clean it. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but as I squeeze and I'm cleaning the blade, you can hear those tiny little micro lines. It sounds almost like it's like a slight higher pitch, like it's kind of cool. I don't know why I like that, but it was nice. On this side we have the serial number, we have the part number, or the model number rather, Sinkovich Designs S35VN, and then here we have the little plunge grind with the sharpening choil-ish thing, which we'll talk about. They could have done that better. In hand, ergonomically, it's pretty good. There's a lot of neutral grip and there's a lot of room to go. Let us jump into some specifications. I'll get you guys some size comparisons. I'll tell you my likes, my dislikes, the cost, which is coming in at around $260, and yes, you can still get this knife. And then I'll show you guys some pictures of other Sinkovich designs where this isn't necessarily my favorite. One of his designs that's really nice is the Spyderco Drunken. Good luck finding it, it's outrageous. And then the ZT0470, which I think is really nice looking. But onto the specifications. I'll show you guys pictures of those later on. I screenshotted them, I stole them from other places, so you'll see Blade HQ, you'll see, if you're lucky enough, I'd screenshot it from Google Images, maybe it was you, I don't know. So this blade's coming in at 0.427 ounces. Now, the cool thing about, 4.27 ounces. The cool thing about that is this blade length, I'm pretty sure, is close to 4 inches. Therefore, giving the blade length to weight ratio almost a really good situation. I say almost because I don't think it quite gets there. So the blade length is coming in at, it's right at about 4 inches, a little bit longer. The overall blade, or the overall knife length, is coming in at 9¼ inches. So you're almost getting that blade length to weight ratio. All right. So the overall blade stock thickness is coming in about 150 thousandths. The behind the edge thickness is coming in right at, this is coming in about 30 thousandths behind the edge. So this is going to be a little bit thicker behind the edge. This is definitely a robust blade. Up near the tip, you're looking at 35 thousandths. Now, I want to say, and Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, I got this in a trade with Corey over there at the Practical Blade. I think he sent this into ZT due to some issues with the action that he was having and some other little issues. And I want to say they sharpened the knife and sent it back to him. Corey, correct me if that's the case. But if they did sharpen the knife and send it back to him, it probably comes stock a little bit thinner behind the edge, but some of the material's been removed. That being said, after one sharpening, if you are at 30 thousandths behind the edge, this is going to be a chunker, right? So it's not your best slicer. Sorry for that. We had a little coffee break. All right. So the overall thickness, it's not all too thick. It's right average, right at about 1/2 inch. And that's a good thing. That's coming in, if you have a Rat Model 1, that's about the same thickness as your Rat Model 1. The overall height, not too bad either, coming in at a 1.15 inches. That is almost half. Well, I would say it's about 50%. 50% would be half. It would be about 30% to 40% thinner or shorter in your pocket than most Spydercos. Let's get you guys some size comparisons. I got some relevant ones, and then I got my typical ones as well. So here is your Civivi Elementum, obviously much shorter, and your Civivi Praxis, which I just noticed my pocket clip tension is not that great. Okay, so obviously a little bit longer than your Praxis, and your Praxis is definitely a full-size knife and much longer than your Elementum. But as far as carry profile, the Praxis is going to carry actually a little bit taller in your pocket than the actual 0452. We can see that here. So that's what I mean. The Praxis is more of like a 1.4 inches high, I think. So what that tells you is, yeah, this is going to carry a little bit nicer as far as height in your pocket. Length in your pocket, it's going to take up a lot of it. Here is your Rat Model 2 and your Rat Model 1. Rat Model 1 being a very large knife. average, very large in the average category. And this is still much longer. Okay, so here's some size comparisons that I tried to find some relevant stuff. This is your Kaiser, and this is a much more beefy, robust knife. Well, not robust, but much more beefy. This is your Kaiser SLT, designed by John Gray. And then this one is just so you guys can see, this is your bug out. By the way, totally off topic. I don't really like this knife, but I am obsessed with this blade shape, and Kaiser does a lot of it. This blade shape is freaking awesome. I don't know why I like it so much. It's like a drop point, but they like mixed a drop point and a sheepsfoot together. Last but not least, one of its ZT brethren, probably my favorite ZT I've ever held. This is the ZT308. And then, and you can see it's about, hold on, I didn't even talk about that. It's about the same length. The ZT308 is a little bit shorter. Obviously, a freaking massive tank of a knife, and I love it. Now, this next knife is going to be your perfect budget version of the 0452, in my opinion. I think this next knife is the only knife in this blade shape and length that I really care to have. I don't like the long stabby blades, but this is your Best Tech Swordfish. This is going to be what I'm going to call the poor man ZT0452. And in my opinion, I'm not going to say it's better. I just prefer it. Yeah, in hand, the ZT452 feels great, but the Best Tech Swordfish feels great. The blade shapes are very similar, and guess what? Holy smokes, wait for it. They're in the same blade steel. This is the Best Tech Swordfish and S35VN, and this ZT for $260 is also an S35VN. Yes, I know, I'm boiling it down to stuff that you shouldn't boil it down to, but this truly is, in my opinion, a very good option. Now you might be talking about heat treat or something to yourself. Know that in the past, ZT has been known to run their stuff a little bit softer, so you probably are still getting the same quality in the blade too, for $200 less, because you can get that at Swordfish for like 75 bucks, I think. Knife Works exclusive or Knife Center exclusive. All right, so the 0452. Obviously a long stabby blade shape, but it's robust. So the good news is S35VN is going to be relatively tough versus M390. Now, that doesn't make it okay for the $260 price point, in my opinion, but it does add for some toughness for this long blade. So to be honest with the geometry of this blade, if you weren't going to change it, I think S35VN is perfect. For the price, I would have liked to see something like Crewwear, something a little bit more exotic. That being said, S35VN is fine. It's, like I said, it's going to be a little bit tougher than your M390. And I think for the geometry, that works for me. For the price point, I would have liked to see something different. Okay, next. This blade has a lot going on. I love the satin finish that they gave us. Like I said, you can almost feel it, and it's. I know that might not be a good thing to some. To me, I freaking love it. The blade stock is really thick, but they did a lot of grinding going on here. The swedge is really deep going there. It's a lot of weight relief from the blade, and then they didn't do too aggressive of a flat grind going down to the edge, so it didn't get too thin behind the edge, so it's going to make it, like I said, pretty damn robust. Look at that freaking tip. That tip is silly, right? Now, here's my first gripe with this knife. This plunge grind. It's a shallow plunge grind, so it's coming out to... Do I have a pointer? Not really. I'm going to use a scale as a pointer, so I'm not in the way. So the plunge grind is coming out to right, like it's like an angle coming out to right here. Now, the sharpening choil stops before the plunge grind. You can already see it developing a slight smile, and that's just after one sharpening, to my knowledge. So that in itself kind of sucks, and I don't know. We talk about these plunge grind issues with the sharpening choils how frequently, right? Just freaking get it right at this point. Like, this is irritating to me that you're gonna spend $260 on a knife and they jacked up the plunge grind. You can add a sharpening choil, you can add a finger choil, blah 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 blah. I don't know if you can on this knife. Hold on. Yeah, you can on this knife. Can't flip or delete it, but you can add a sharpening choil. But fix it. Like, do it right. Come on. Like, just 260. Come on. This knife has a lot of really good things going for it. The little things, though, you got to pay attention to at that price point, or you're going to just get... I can't say anything because this knife is really popular. If you look up Sienkiewicz designs, this is probably one of his more famous designs. Okay, so as I talked about ergonomics, you have a lot of freedom. A lot of freedom, and it feels good. Now, whereas I talked about the Bestech Swordfish, this is much more contoured on the scale, so it feels more comfortable in hand. And I don't think that I'm going to spin. You know, you don't have that tall blade shape, blade face really creating like a actual spin in your hand. But if you're going to spin with this long knife, it's going to spin on the Swordfish, not this, in your hand. So you do have a little bit more grip going on here. I prefer the Swordfish, though. It doesn't really tell you where to go. You have some options, and that's cool. As far as the look, I think the look looks fantastic. This carbon fiber is absolutely gorgeous. They did a really good job with this carbon fiber. The stonewashed titanium, I mean, it's kind of typical, but I think it looks really good as well. The pocket clip looks dumb. I get it. They made it so that they can kind of do with this lock bar relief, and I get it. But it looks dumb for the design. I mean, I guess I expect it kind of, but it's just like, it's a stamped out clip like we talked about in a lot of things, and it's steel. You have so much steel on this for 260, it's kind of like, what? There is no cutouts on the inside for any type of weight relief. As I said, there's ball bearings in here, and they're running on tracks, like little washers with tracks, so that prevents any wear and erosion. And then you also have the stainless steel lock bar insert there. Other than that, the pocket clip is reversible, although it is a frame lock, so it won't be a true ambidextrous knife. And that is about it for the ZT-0452. This is a very nice, robust, long knife. If you're looking for something that you can beat on, this is it. I mean, you totally can beat on this knife. An S35VN will allow you to do that a little bit more than M390. It's going to be relatively corrosion resistant. That being said, I struggle with this one a little bit. That sharpening choil, or lack thereof, versus the plunge grind, you're going to run into that smile much quicker than you expect. You know, so if you're beating on this knife, which means you're going to be sharpening it more, I don't know. But you can use it for a little bit of prying. I'm not saying go out and pry with it and blame it on me, but it is a good, you know, robust tool. Is it the best? No. Is it worth $260? I think if they were to fix certain things on this, I think it would be. I think if you were to add titanium hardware instead of steel hardware, if you were to give me a decent looking pocket clip, even for the S35VN, I'm comfortable with that $260 price point, although I would like to see something a little different. I'm comfortable with that $260 because there's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of things going on here that I think kind of lend to the cost. So I'm okay with that. I didn't mention it does have a stop pin right there. One thing I didn't mention, let me get back out my tape measure. This is kind of, remember how I talked about the blade length to weight ratio? This is virtually like a ratio god, kind of, in a sense. Because this blade is, and the pivot is pushed pretty far up in the handle, and you're getting a lot of blade length to handle ratio. And so that blade length to handle ratio is almost 1-for-1, just shy of that. Your weight to blade length is almost 1-for-1, just shy of that. So this is a really well created design. And the thought process that went into this, I thoroughly appreciate. I'll show you some of his other knives, just screenshots from my phone that I'll pop in here. And, you know, it's... I like his designs. I just don't like the long kind of stabbier look. I like, as you guys can tell, if I'm going to get a big knife out, I want to use this beast. This guy is fun. I really thoroughly enjoy this. So that's just a preference. That's not any knock on the knife. Is it worth $260? I think so. I think it is. You know, with everything that kind of went into it. That being said, I would like to see other things done to it at that price point. Maybe a different blade steel. Keep the robustness if you're going to keep the geometry, but, you know, maybe a different blade steel, different pocket clip. Other than that, you know, it is what it is. Action, I think he had an issue with his action, and this is what I can tell you about this action. This lock bar is very, very tight. And it's not hard to manipulate, but I'm just telling you, it's really tight. So after I did this a little bit with it and you kind of wear in that track, which it'll be easier to wear in with S35VN versus M390, so that's good. So it should wear in a little bit easier. It almost falls shut, and it will. Once this wears in, this knife will be a fall shut knife. It'll just take some wear in time. So I know that that was an issue that I think he brought up in one of his reviews, and what you can tell is if you take the lock bar and you hold it like this and you open it, the blade wants to completely fall. I don't want to do it and jack up my fingers, but you see how the blade's just falling from the lock bar? That tells you that it's just the lock bar tension keeping that blade open a little bit. Once that race wears in, it should be virtually drop shut. Like I said, carbon fiber looks gorgeous. The design is really nice. The ergonomics are pretty good. The robust blade I can appreciate as like an American style robust blade factor, but you know, it's gonna get real thick real fast. So that's one of the downsides. The plunge grind isn't necessarily done right, and they kind of cheaped out on some of the hardware, the pocket clip and whatnot, as you can see here. And the blade steel for 260 isn't something that we stomach readily. All right, guys, I hope that was entertaining. This is the ZT0452. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. And remember, as I said in the beginning, let's honor those that may have different hardships or things on their mind today. I will post this up. This will be my second video I post up today. The reason being is I didn't give you guys a video yesterday, so I gave you a battle this morning. I'll post this up tonight so that I kind of make amends for that. And let's take care of each other as a people, right? It's not about you. It's about us. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit that like button and or leave a comment. The whole reason this channel was created was to interact with you guys and just share the love of knives. So until next time, you guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking rest of your day. Thanks for watching.